Hi, I'm Tony Spine at Hillside Christmas Tree Farm, and today we are going to pick cones off our fir trees. For the most part, we only have cones developing on our Koreans, and sometimes, occasionally, we get some on our balsams. One of the problems with Fraser is they tend to develop cones early, and it is a very time-consuming task. There's two types of cones: the female cones, which stand upright and actually creates the seed, and the male pollen cones, which are brown, dangling, releases the pollen. So, obviously the earlier the better that you can get to this, because as they get harder, they're harder to peel off, and I find that you twist them off, it's a lot easier to do. The reason we do this is because it takes a lot of the growing juice out of branch development and puts them into those cones. So some of the trees that aren't as dense could be because they have a lot of cones, and just those buds turned into cones and not branches. So we want to pull all these off, and yeah, it's very time consuming, and that's what we're going to do today. So why don't you follow along? Yeah, so these are, male cones that we don't have to worry about. They've already kind of finished what they're doing. And I think it's pretty interesting about Koreans is they actually have purple cones. We see the color here. Cones are usually on the upper third of the tree. That's because they don't want to self-pollinate, right? When I mean self-pollinate is, the same tree provides both the male pollen and the female cone. I don't know what's earlier, if the purple cones are first and then they kind of turn greenish like they are here. These are cones left over from last year, right? Little stalks. Basically the whole cone disintegrates into all the seeds. And they talked about, what causes cones, and they say maybe stress, drought, but at some point during the previous season's growing season, the buds decided to be reproductive buds instead of growth buds. It's kind of how I understand it. So, is this little tree stressed somehow? Doesn't look exactly the healthiest thing. And also remember what we said about the stunted growth happens because of cone production too. So, let's see what that one does. Here's our grand fir. We don't see any cones on these. At least I haven't yet. Given I haven't, you know, messed with them too much. I think this is that tree there was kind of our second year planting them. Back in 2014 maybe. So here's a nice Korean that doesn't have any cones at all. That's fantastic. Fantastic. That one's probably going to go this year for sure. And a little one next to it. Got him. So I guess if you're really watching the video, let me know what you think, because, you know, me personally, I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube. If I do, it's usually to learn a specific task and move on. But like a video like this, I'm walking around and I'm talking, doing things as talking about things as I occur to them. But it makes for a long, drawn-out video. And with longer videos, the watch time is better for me, I notice. But, you know, do you find value in it? Or do you want me to just really cut to the chase so you guys can move on and live your life? Or do you want me to keep kind of doing stuff like this where it's, you know, 30-minute video, given there'll be some, at least what I think is some great information, some valuable stuff. But editing a video and kind of finding those tidbits is very time consuming. And I don't like sitting in my computer editing my videos all day. So, if you guys are alright with longer content, let me know in the comments. Or if you just want me to cut to the chase, show you a little bit, explain why. Oh yeah, Lemon went for a swim. And I guess geared toward creating content more like that. Another thing I've noticed over the last, let's talk about 8 years, let's say 8 years. I grew up in that house when we moved out here when I was 10 years old, and, you know, outside all the time. And I don't ever remember getting one tick on me when I was a kid. You know, 10 to say 8 years ago. Now, every time I come out here, there's at least one tick. Then my kids get them and I gotta watch them, and it's just crazy. So if anyone has any idea what could have turned, how something just comes into an area that really hasn't ever been here, that'd be fantastic, because I'm interested in that. I kind of collect them in a bag all year and see how many I got at the end of the year. One of them actually had the babies in the bag. That was pretty neat. So, I don't know, just something. Nature. Love it and hate it, right? So this one has a lot of male cones we see, right? We see all the brown All the brown male cones from last year. Yeah, I think everyone's got kind of their favorite pair of gloves, right? Don't wear them when you do this, because they'll be just full of sap. These actually aren't really too bad. So this area here, as we kind of get closer to the pond, soil gets heavier. I get into the backfill from the pond. A lot more organic, heavier soil. The tree's not doing so well. This little low spot here kind of holds water. So that's why they aren't doing as well here. It's also been following along kind of, this is a main road through the center. This other half here is where I'm moving my exotics. So I know I can, down here might be too low and too heavy for them, but up on the ridge they do better where our canons are. And then kind of on the other side of the hills where I planted this year for the exotic. So just a little advantage of how the farm's laid out. And those are the trees that'll be opened up this year, Christmas 24. We have some more grands, some Canaan, and balsam's kind of on the end. Some of these little guys might end up being our little top lot trees. I think that does it for this section. I think Lemon had a birthday a couple weeks ago. She's now 3. These were the balsams we opened up this year next to the grands. And then next to that are some more Koreans. So cones like that, I'll need the ladder. I really want to get to them because, again, this is the field that I did that heavy shearing a couple years ago. A lot of the trees did get sold, which is fantastic, but now, you know, we're getting down. Trees are getting taller, which is great, but if we don't get those cones, that top is going to be kind of bare. So we want to have a nice full top so we can develop very high quality trees. Another thing I think that heavy shearing did was really forced them to develop a lot of buds. You know, this is getting trees getting very dense. Cones are getting hard to pull off. I think I noticed the trees, these ones developing cones like 2 weeks ago, so I should have just started doing that, but we're still planting, so That's probably more important than this, getting the trees in the ground, right? That's time critical. Sooner the better. I don't know, how can you beat this though, right? It's for a job. Wish it was my full-time job. Maybe someday, but not anytime soon. Being outside, great weather, listening to nature. Getting scared by snakes. Yep. A couple weeks ago we saw like I caught a, what, 4-foot blue racer. So the kids had a kick out of that. So one thing that you can actually do with these cones, instead of just throwing them on the ground, is actually make a pine cone syrup. I heard you kind of make a, sugar water mix and then boil it down just like you would any other type of syrup, and you add these cones in for some flavor. I was at a meeting a couple years ago and someone actually brought it, and surprisingly tasted unique but good. Can't really describe it because it doesn't taste like anything I can think of. Maybe it's sweet, but I guess if I were to have to put it to a word, maybe a woody, kind of like a black walnut syrup. It's kind of woody. We made some last year. Tasted all right. Kids wanted to do it, so you know, we did it. We got the stuff. We got the cones. So we collected them, boiled some down. They had a little bit. They liked it. Me, not so much. I'm not too much of a breakfast person, so I did not partake. All right, that kind of wraps it up for the cones and the Koreans. I have another field over there I need to walk through, but I'm not going to film that. So yeah, all right, if you don't want to do this, don't plant Koreans, don't plant Fraser. Just a part of life. I know they're working on some sort of spray application to kind of kill those cones, because the cones will develop before the buds, so timing will be critical. I know that's something that they are working on. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Happy spring. Good luck out there.